Fuzzy Belvedere, let's get to this breaking news. And it's good gaming news once again for Xbox. Now, this comes the way of VGT Gaming News on Twitter. And this has been leaked, ladies and gentlemen. It was out there for a hot second, was taken off the interwebs. And, well, they say this. The ID at Xbox Showcase returns in partnership with IGN on February 24th. Currently, the announcement article has been taken down by IGN. They accidentally posted it. I actually have the screenshot here of the IGN/ID at Xbox show. Fuzzy, look, I understand that it's the indie show, but make no mistake, today's indies aren't our old school indies. Indie games, because they have a team of 2 or 5 or 10 or 20 or 25, are producing some of the best work we've seen indies do in years, right? And I mean, let's just take a pause, take a step back, folks, and let's talk about Xbox in 2025, right? 24 closes out on a ridiculous high note with Indiana Jones. And yeah, I'm a bit disappointed that only 4 million people played it. I wish it would have been 10 million. And it deserves to have that many people playing that game. Now, is it a failure? No, it's not a failure. It just goes to show you that it's Indiana Jones, and that was my fear. You guys and gals heard me talk about this. Especially how many people are going to, be on board for an Indiana Jones? Do some people even know who he is? Does it matter? Well, 4 million people played it. Yeah, that's good, right? But look, again, it is what it is. But they still closed out 2024 on a super high note, in my opinion. And then, of course, the showcase from a couple of weeks ago was the rubber stamp for what I believe is going to be one of the best years in platform history, right? You have 5 games that showed up. 2 were surprises. 1 was a day and date release. Go play it now. Ninja Gaiden 2, Black redone in Unreal Engine 5. Dope, 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 and more dope. All right? Avowed is coming out in 2 weeks, right? There's South of Midnight confirmed for April. You have Doom the Dark Ages confirmed for May. You have Ninja Gaiden 4 confirmed for the end of the year for holiday of 25. Oh, by the way, in Game Pass. Ridiculous. And now for February, besides the Avowed release, which is going to be, I think, a big one for them, you now have the ID at Xbox Showcase. And this is a big deal. It may not be the biggest deal, but I'm a man about consistency. I like back-to-back things because it shows a pattern of success. And here we go. December was big for Game Pass. It was big with games. Indiana Jones hit a home run. Machine Games knocked it out of the park. You start January with a solid group of games going into Xbox Game Pass. You got the showcase. February comes around. Avowed is around the corner. And boom, you got another show, ladies and gentlemen. Another confirmed show. The IGN and partnership with ID at Xbox. Let's talk about that because there is some raging consistency here that I don't know if they're going to get credit for, but they should.
Yeah. It's something that I see a lot of those in the gaming media not really talk about. And I've asked this question of several of them. It's like, when is it that Xbox will finally get recognized for what they're producing? It's like, is it 2 years of them at this cadence? Is it 5 years, 10 years? Because like I look at the cadence that they've had with Forza Horizon in general, and that's always been top notch. And when it comes to a lot of their first party titles that they've released, I guess you could say Redfall was their one, smudge mark at most, but that was allowed to be updated and fixed. It may have been too late for the team, but in general, that one was repaired. But Infinite came out like gangbusters. Sure, on the multiplayer aspect, some of the seasonal stuff behind, but the single player was top notch coming out. Same thing can be said about Gears 4 and 5. So, and even the expansion with the Hive Buster. So I don't know why that they're constantly ignored as far as like, oh, well, at some point this Game Pass will be unsustainable. It's like, well, we're now, what is it, 2017, I think, is when I first signed up for Game Pass, when it was only like 99 games in the service. Yep. And here we are 8 years later. It's still going. I can't imagine Microsoft's, constantly, holding up something that's unsustainable for 8 years. Maybe 2 or 3 years, sure. 8 years, I don't think so. Especially if they're closing studios in between. Obviously, that shows that, yeah, they wouldn't be constantly propping this up if it wasn't sustainable. And on a second note, it's like when people heard me say I expect to see more at the Dev Direct, I kind of forgot that they do a ID at Xbox partner showcase, because I was expecting like 8 games to be shown, because they have that many games in the works, both first party, second party deals that are kind of like first party publishing, as well as other third party stuff that's coming into the Game Pass service. Like at some point we're going to see a showcase, which I'm assuming maybe Replace gets shown here. Who knows? Maybe Silk Song.
Yes, absolutely.
So I think there's a lot of stuff that's been in the oven and just waiting for that moment to shine kind of deal. So this partnered showcase kind of, lands what I was expecting them to show for these first few months. Like every month there's going to be something, fairly huge coming into Game Pass, whether it's first party or third party. There's something coming to the service every month. And if you're not the indie player, you don't care for those types of games, I hear you. But for me, ever since, especially after getting my Steam Deck and having some of those games that have been in the service, I actually look forward to a lot of these. That's why I'm looking forward to like an Xbox handheld, because it just feels right playing some of those. Yeah, they look great on the big screen, but it feels right playing them on like a handheld device for the most part. And it brings back a sense of nostalgia without it being actual nostalgia. It's a new game, actually in some cases, innovative approaches on roguelikes or Metrovanias and things like that. And I never really thought I was that type of gamer. I'm more so into racing and RPGs and such, but there is a niche that I adore about those games and look forward to them. So this showcase coming out on the 24th, I think we get some of the games we've been asking questions about, like Silk Song, like Replaced. I'm still, holding out hope for The Last Night. I know the single dev that's working on that. He's actually kind of found a few techniques on like a pixel rendering thing that I expect to see in some other games, coming into the future, where it's like you could take an old style game and update the resolution a good bit without having to redo the code and stuff like that. So he's breaking ground in one way. I really hope he gets to get the game wrapped up here soon. But there's also that mouse. It almost looks like Mickey Mouse detective kind of game, somewhat in the vein of like.
Oh, you're talking about the first person shooter. Yes, yeah. Dude. Yes, a PI something or other.
Yeah.
I keep seeing like commercials for it. That game looks dope, dude. Like it looks really good.
So I'm wondering if we get a release date on it from there. And yeah, there's tons of stuff that Xbox has been doing. Like I think people don't realize they're building relationships with these smaller devs. And that's why we get a lot of the stuff that we see in ID at Xbox. And that's why you'll find a lot of the devs that put their games into Game Pass, praise it for the exposure. It's hard to get a game in front of people and get the marketing, especially if you're a smaller dev where you've already mortgaged you put a second or third mortgage on your house to kind of just build the game. So the advertising thing is like the hardest, next step. And when things go into Game Pass or they get featured in ID at Xbox, that brings a whole new spotlight of fans to that game that may not have, even know where to look to find that type of game. So I'm looking forward to this showcase, hoping we see some highly anticipated games, like I mentioned, in this showcase, and that they're, somehow squeezed in between. Like I know with April, we got what is it, South of Midnight at the beginning of the month, and then we got the Expedition 33 at the end of the month.
Yeah.
We could fit something in the middle there, and then whatever we could do for May. I know we already got what do you call it, Doom for that month, so maybe something a little bit after Doom, or maybe a little bit before Doom, because I think Doom is right in the middle of May. So yeah, this is awesome to hear that they have another showcase lined up. Not the biggest IGN fan, but one of their best proteges from IGN, Tina Amini, being part of the Xbox team, I think has been the standout draft pick as far as when it comes to these showcases. So if she's the one behind the Xbox portion of that, I trust that it'll be a knockout show. But looking forward to the games, and yeah, I'm just going to have to figure out my backlog even harder now to figure out where I'm going to play all these games. But yeah, it's awesome to hear breaking news. Although they let the cat out of the bag, not that that's suspicious from IGN, but then again, maybe it was a true accident, like when they leave off games coming to Xbox on some of their reels and stuff. But
the slander of it all, you're not wrong. They haven't done that in a while, so maybe Microsoft kind of pulled their coattails on that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I will say this: Tina Amini is the MVP acquisition. I guess if you can say that, them hiring her was probably the best thing they've ever done, because since her initial hire, their showcases have been dynamite, like best in class. Yeah. And it's just, obviously she comes from IGN, mm-hmm. and this partnership with IGN for ID at Xbox is good for both companies.